Welcome to Wake Up College Basketball. For the official stream, you'll need to go to channel 557 on your cable box. This is actually the team stream for Appalachian State. Go Mountaineers!
And in meteorology news, can we just get a replay of that, please? No, yeah, that's clean. It's time to
Wake Up College Basketball.
Welcome back to Wake Up College Basketball. I'm Ryan Nanny. He is John Boys. That is the Samsung SUHD TV, color that lasts longer than March Madness, John.
It does indeed, and I don't know about you. Speaking for myself, I've been getting a lot of emails from you folks asking me, John, can you make me a TV? Do you have the stuff to build me a TV? I don't. This is why we're talking about Samsung. Samsung, they have the stuff, okay? They have the equipment, they have the know-how. I don't even have a factory or any of the stuff that you need to build one.
Do you know 3 ingredients that go into television?
No, I know there's celery, onion, and I can never remember the third.
It's baking powder. You can use baking soda in a pinch.
Right.
But we're not here to talk about TV manufacturing, John. We are here to talk about the Final Four. We're down to a championship game finally. We had one kind of lopsided blowout win with one team that just sort of ran out of magic. And we had one game that was very exciting back and forth pretty much the whole game. Not necessarily in the order that we would have expected them, but
Indeed.
From yesterday's games, what are you going with as your awesome thing of the day?
My awesome came from being a spectator from my couch, which was that, I don't know if you all saw Kentucky's team stream. I watched it. I spent the entire second half watching the team stream, which this confused a lot of people. It confused me at first.
Right.
But basically, the main feed was TBS. If you're a Kentucky homer, you wanted to watch the TNT feed, I believe it was. And that was the one that had Rex Chapman in the booth. And it sounded straight up like Friday Night Lights. It was amazing. These fellas just need to get these rebounds. These fellas are coming up empty down the floor, and it was amazing.
Of course, the team stream for Louisville fans was USA, where they were showing Burn Notice. So.
Yeah, no, I think it was Inspector Gadget.
Okay, even better. Mm-hmm. So my awesome thing is not necessarily team stream related, but let's talk about how Duke was able to get so many easy baskets against Michigan State. Mm-hmm. I mean, this Michigan State was a team that had done such a good job of challenging you to make shots and not giving up easy buckets. And then Duke goes out and gets 20 dunks and layups combined. They get 42 points in the paint. And, I mean, it's just impossible to beat a team when you're giving up that many easy buckets, I think.
Oh, sure. I mean, every time Michigan State got within 8-10, it's like they would pull a fast break dunk out of their pocket and be up by a dozen again.
And it was in part because Duke was able to force 14 turnovers by Michigan State, which really just, every time, like you're saying, every time the Spartans felt like they were crawling back, they'd make a turnover here, a turnover there, and Duke just was like, nope, we're not going to let you get close enough.
It was weird to see a Tom Izzo team do that, right? Because Duke, they played well defensively, but Michigan State gave the ball away a lot, just straight up handed it to them.
Right. Okay, so let's talk about what was unexpected from yesterday in your perspective.
Well, obviously the unexpected, I would say for all involved, was Kentucky losing in the first place.
Yep.
We knew that they were fallible because they almost lost to Notre Dame in the previous round, but this time they got out-rebounded 34-22 by Wisconsin, a team that throughout the tournament hasn't had a huge rebounding edge, just kind of a slight one. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they beat them offensively, defensively on the glass. They held Willie Cauley-Stein to 2 points, which Cauley-Stein is not generally a stat sheet stuffer. He doesn't usually break into the double digits as far as points go, but he was held to 4 shots, 2 points, no offensive rebounds. That was killer for Kentucky.
Yeah, especially, I mean, in that first half, you saw that the rebounding edge was basically what was keeping Wisconsin in the game and allowing them to separate themselves at points in the game from Kentucky.
Sure.
Sticking with that game, I think what was very unexpected to me was, so let's give Kentucky credit. They played this was a very fun game to watch. Both of these teams played extremely good basketball. Mm-hmm. And Kentucky did a good job of every time Wisconsin took an 8-point lead, they just march right down and whittle it down. Except for the last 6 minutes or so of the game, when the offense just sort of evaporated. They had 1 field goal in the last 6 minutes. And they did this thing where they just stopped giving the ball to Karl-Anthony Towns. And I don't really understand that. He had a great day for them. He was 7 of 11 from the field. And they just took him out of the offense almost by choice. It was a very strange decision. I understand that, they had some other players who were giving them a lot of points as well. But it seems like when you have somebody with the range and the talent that Towns does to just willingly say, well, we're not really going to try to make you stop him. Odd choice.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it's easy for me to say, like, watching it, but I was like, no, like, get the guys that have been scoring, like, get them the ball. It's
right.
like, really elementary stuff. We were talking about this just a little bit last night. I mean, that seems like, obviously, contextually on any given possession, the big guy, your big guy is not always the right guy. But to go that many trips down the floor and have him not shoot a single time, I mean, doesn't a lot of that fall on Calipari?
I think so. I mean, maybe it's one of those things where they sort of felt like other guys had the hot hand, or maybe they thought that was going to be an obvious play. I don't know. They might have overthought it. Or maybe we're just not giving Wisconsin enough credit for forcing Kentucky to do things they didn't necessarily want to do.
I suspect that might be it.
So let's look ahead with our meaningful to the championship game. We are getting a matchup of 1-1, Wisconsin versus Duke. Let's start with Duke. What do you think is meaningful for them that they need to do to win the title?
Well, against Wisconsin, they're going to face Frank Kaminsky and Sam Decker. Kaminsky 7 foot, Decker 6'9". Both can score both on the perimeter and inside. I kind of think that Duke, they have Jahlil Okafor. He is their one real big dude.
Yeah.
And they're really going to have to make some hard choices. It's like, how do we defend both of these guys? I think the best that they can do is maybe just pick one. I think Kaminsky is a guy who Okafor might go ahead and defend well against, at least mitigate the damage there, limit him to maybe 16 points instead of the 27 he's been putting up all month. But Decker, they've got to watch out for him as well because, as we saw last night, he can drive to the net. We saw him put down threes, and we also saw him pull a couple of pretty sick moves in the paint to score and even draw fouls.
He's had such a good tournament. Just shooting lights out in a way that I don't think anybody necessarily expected. Frank Kaminsky's obviously been great, but that's kind of what you expect from the player of the year. To get somebody like Decker who can start dealing like that, that's just such a huge advantage for Wisconsin
to be able to
just
pull out a second option out of your pocket like that is kind of amazing.
Right. Okay, so if Duke needs to shut down either Decker or Kaminsky to win, I think the meaningful thing for Wisconsin is that they have to avoid turnovers. Duke has forced 12 turnovers a game in this tournament, which is the best of any team. They have also done a good job of not putting opponents on the free throw line, even though they're playing that kind of, really tight, aggressive defense. So Wisconsin has to find that sort of happy medium where they are not turning the ball over, but they are getting to the free throw line. Because when they do, they're shooting the ball pretty well, especially last night against Kentucky.
Yeah.
And I think, Duke's going to get their points. So you have to be able to get to the charity stripe, make those trips count when you do. Otherwise, it's the kind of thing where Duke's offense can just start rolling on you, and next thing you know, you're down by 14 points. And as we saw against Michigan State, that is a very hard hole to climb out of against this Duke team. Yeah,
no doubt. I mean, they're both pretty fast paced, but I feel like Duke might have the slightly faster pace. Is that fair to say? And I'm with you.
Yeah. John, let's end on Kentucky fans working out their feelings through the most traditional form, fire. Setting their own personal belongings on fire. These people, for instance, decided that the only way they could express their rage was by lighting a flame, an empty case of Natty Light. What is your personal experience as a former Kentucky resident with emotions and fire coming together?
Well, of course, I am a Kentucky native. We discovered fire in 1989, and I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah, it was a big day.
Yep, Fire State.
That's why it's called the Fire State, people. For Fire State native John Boyce, from me, Ryan Nanny, and of course, our friends at Samsung and the SUHD TV. This has been Wake Up College Basketball. We have one more game left. John and Matt Ufford will be with you after that. We'll see you soon.
See ya.